What was that?
Action.
All right. Well, hey guys. Hope you are excited as I am because today's episode is featuring none other than J Daar from J Daar's Customs. That's right. We're going to be talking about painting. Things that you didn't know, equally I didn't know. That's why I asked the questions, and that's what the show kind of is. So check it out and let me know what you think.
Well, it's not often you get to sit with your neighbor. Today is the day. I'm here with J Daar,
Yes, sir.
my Barber Vintage Motorsport Park,
Yes, sir.
neighbor in the Triumph Aisle.
That's right. Having a great time.
Having a good day?
Yes, sir. Having a great day.
So I noticed you're wearing a helmet.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot.
Oh my
So
God.
stupid. Yeah, these were painted by some really professional painter, a guy named J Daar.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did that one too, and a couple of these other demo pieces.
That you did this JC?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
It's a fine Jesus Christus.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And so that's what you do. You're a high-level custom painter,
Yes, sir.
specifically doing tanks, helmets, motorcycles.
Yes. I've kind of ventured off into I'm also a musician, so I've ventured off into the guitars and other instruments. Essentially any kind of solid substrate I
Yeah.
paint. Everything I use is automotive grade, high end. I did the paint and body industry for 27 years, doing cars and restorations and hot rods, and always did bikes on the side, some nights and weekends. And then after about 15 years of that, I was like, I couldn't keep up with, the side work. So I decided about 6 years ago to full-time on my own doing, just custom bikes and guitars. I really love it.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got the reputation in place that people are seeking you out for custom
Yes, sir.
guitars, bikes, and
Yes, sir.
so where are you based out of?
I'm just north of Atlanta, about 45 minutes north in Jackson County. I paint for most of the dealerships in the area. I also do factory repair, which is, that's kind of what keeps things rolling. People drop their bikes or, drop a lid, a bag, or they just want to replace a fairing and have it color matched. So I do a lot of that also, but in between, I'm kind of known for complete all over, one-off custom paint jobs. Also, I've kind of hooked up with Triumph and been doing some mildly creative stuff for them. They don't like to go super radical, but they give me the opportunity to throw a little bit of my flair in with their ideas, and they've really blessed me with some great jobs at high-end kind of things.
Well, and what did we reveal yesterday?
So yesterday we revealed the Elvis themed bike.
Yeah.
They are going to they're going to auction it off in January. I'm also painting a Gibson Les Paul to match. It'll have the same theme as the bike. There'll be a matching set.
Yeah.
They'll auction it off, and 100% of the funds go towards the Elvis Presley Foundation. So it's a great cause. Super excited about that. I've always loved Elvis. I was raised on Elvis, and with my kids, I always said there's two artists that they have to listen to, and that's going to be Elvis and Journey.
Okay.
So they were raised on Elvis and Journey. So when they asked me to do the Elvis bike, I was super thrilled. And
How did you pick your inspiration specific for that? Like from of all things Elvis, how did you decide?
I know. Well, thankfully, they told me they were going for that 68 comeback era. So that really helped me narrow it down because I like all of the different stages.
Yeah.
So, we went, I did a little research on the 68 special, and he had these really neat silhouettes of himself in the background, and I was like, oh, that's cool, got to incorporate that.
Yeah.
They wanted to do the red and silver to tie in with the colors of the 9 bikes that he probably had purchased at the time. Most of them would have been red and silver. I did a gold leaf stripe throughout with gold leaf accents. For me, it was more about representing his gold jewelry. I really, had to do that.
And that was in the flake you did?
Yeah, that's in the gold leafing on it. And then on the side covers, I did the TCB, taking care of business with the lightning bolt, which will probably be my next tattoo, honestly. Now I'm really stoked about the whole story with it. And, so I think it turned out great. Everything's shot, if you want tech stuff, it was all shot in silver. And then I masked it up and shot the top half in red candy. So it's all the same flake, you just have a transparent red on top.
Is that then in your industry, like, there's industry standards established and everybody does, is there any new tech coming out for paint, or like people like trying to
Well, obviously it starts in California, so it's all about regulations. They're not
Okay.
worried about necessarily giving you the best product. They're worried about saving the earth, that kind of deal. So everything's going kind of waterborne, but that essentially is confined to the color, which isn't the base. It's the color in between, and then you still have a solvent clear. So it's kind of silly. You're trapping the one safe thing between the two unsafe things.
Whoa.
It's kind of funny the way they do it, but it makes OSHA happy, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's changed a lot since I've started. I don't see anything happening right now, but when I first started in '88, we were still doing a lot of single stage and lacquers, non-catalyzed product.
Yeah.
So that means if you were to come back 5 years later and clean it with certain solvent, it would actually melt the paint. But this stuff is catalyzed, so once it's dry, you could pour gas. The only thing you couldn't pour on it, obviously, is paint stripper.
Yeah.
That's made to pierce even catalyzed
Then,
urethanes.
is that something too that you're like? Do you like think back to yesteryear and be like, man, I had the best gel coat that just shines so bright?
No, I'm happier now. The materials are definitely superior to what they were.
Got it.
Back then, you hear people say, well, it's got 15 hand-rubbed coats of lacquer. So they would shoot a couple coats, then they'd sand it and polish it and shoot a couple more coats. And all that does is give you so much film build that it becomes brittle. That's why all the 70s and 60s paint is all just crow's feet and cracks everywhere, because it wasn't catalyzed, and as it dries, it shrinks and just splits. So this stuff, I've been shooting base clear for 25 years, probably almost 30 years now, and you just don't see that. If it's done properly, the materials do hold up, and it is the same materials that are on brand new vehicles. It's what all manufacturers use for their factory vehicles.
So when you get a call from Triumph, or you get a call from some homie, is there something that you really like painting, and some things you're like, I'll do it, but I don't like to?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything where they say, okay, I like, let's just say I want red, white, and blue, and they show me some pictures of something that's retro, then I know what direction to go. If they show me flashy, like this kind of stuff, I've got a couple of baggers out there that are just crazy. As long as I know what the customer likes, I can figure out a way to try to blow their mind. That's essentially what happens. Thankfully, I've been super blessed that, man, almost all of my customers tell me I've exceeded their expectations. And that's a dream for me. I never show pictures as an artist. Nobody sees their bike until it's done. I don't send update photos, none of that. I did that a few times in the beginning, and people were like, oh, the blue looks too this, or it's too that, and it was always the lighting or the cell phone, and I said, I'm done. People would be like, oh, that line looks crooked. I'm like, okay, this is not working for me. So most of my clients, even with the Elvis bike, they point me in a little bit of a direction and let me do my thing. That's why most people call me anyway. They want my flair with their idea. So it's worked out really well. There's only been a few people that have told me to just go for it, and then they weren't real sure when it was finished. That rarely happens. I can feel the customer out, and if I feel like they're going that direction, I will send them update photos and say, okay,
just check the temperature.
Yeah, check the temperature, absolutely.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, my customers just really want something creative, and that's what I try to give them.
Well, so you said you have a certain flash or flare that people identify with. What is that flash and flare?
I like heavy flakes. When the light hits it, I really like it to look, as you walk by, I want it to look like it's walking. I like solid colors too, but I like when solid color is mixed with a flash. Obviously candies, the cool thing with candies, you can shoot it silver and put a piece of paper across it and shoot one red candy, and then move that paper down, shoot another candy, and as you go, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coats, and you can pick all the different variations, of what you want to use. So you may have 2 coats of red here and 3 coats of blue here, and you can just do so many things with the transparent colors. Even this helmet here is all silver flake, but with blue candy, and then of course it has pinstriping on it. But you can just do so many things. This is the same color flake, but with root beer. So, there's a lot of neat things you can do with these materials. This right here is kind of a funky stuff. It's called color shift. And I got some of this product from the paint store, and it costs.
I'm looking at everything right now. I'm like, everything's got a yellow tinge.
Yeah, you're wearing yellow shades.
Idiot.
I
Sorry.
do have customers that say, well, and I'm like, take your glasses off. That does happen, believe it or not. But this color shift here, the pigment that they use in this, it's a liquid dye. That stuff is $700 a pint.
Woo.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because it has
That's more than that helmet.
way more. You try to see it in the sun, but
That's cool.
It's got some crazy flip flops, and then this is a demo. I just wanted to add something, a little texture. Then
Is
I
it
wanted
easy to
beach
manipulate which
the
hue is-
transition?
Yeah.
No, essentially I did that with playing with the technique of spraying. So I shot it black.
So that was an intentional.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Yeah, so this side is green to gold. This side's red to gold.
Mm.
Yep. So, and I just picked like a little kind of beach theme,
Yeah.
because that's my dream is to be
Aloha
near
vibes,
palm
yeah,
trees,
yeah.
And, did a little lightning bolt, a little texture up the center just to,
Is
I
that you
wouldn't say
laying a
I've known-
material on
yeah,
that?
I sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was I don't remember what kind of material it was, but I'll go to Goodwill and I'll take by the time I leave Goodwill, I've got their little plastic bags stuffed full of different laces and all kinds of weird stuff. So
There you go, that guy's back again.
I try to take my wife every time.
Then they just think there's two kinky people. That
Yeah, but
doesn't
no,
mean
it's weird when one dude is walking out with a bunch of lingerie, and I do because if the pattern is different.
Unless that's what you're into, and then we totally support that. We think that's great for you.
Sure, it's great. For me, I don't wear lace, not that's exposed.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so I'll use all kinds of different things, and there's other people that do it. I'm not doing anything new or different, but
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm trying to incorporate things and mix them up. And try to create new things if possible. But as long as I can continue to make people happy and give them exactly what they want. I'm not a huge fan of solid white motorcycles, but I've done them.
Yeah.
And the people love it. So as long as they're super happy, my old boss man used to say, if you like it, I love it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of as long as you're happy.
And so I think we touched on it briefly, but I don't think I got a clear answer. What is something you do not like painting?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of solid colors.
Just all right. I'm talking like physically.
Product. What
you're like,
product
oh, you know
on
what's a pain in the dick to paint?
Ooh.
Handlebars or.
Yeah, I've done that too. Anything that's chrome plated.
Yeah.
Chrome plated takes a lot of process to get it ready for paint to adhere. So essentially, if somebody were to bring me a chrome plated handlebar, I'd have to sandblast it, which profiles it. It just kind of chews it up.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't remove the chrome. It just roughs it up enough to where I can put an epoxy primer on it, which the epoxy has a metal etch, and that actually etches in. And then you start the paint process. Then you start the primers, the colors, the clears.
Yeah.
So you have a couple of extra processes that you have to do that, it really slows you down. I'm not a huge fan of raw plastic. That's more in the automotive industry. Raw bumpers, all that kind of stuff. Same thing. You have to do really special prep on it. You have to use special materials for adhesion promotion. But it has to be done. I'm just not a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
I like to take something that's, even if it's factory, I like to take it all the way down to the metal if it needs to, and then I know that my material's good from the ground up. I never paint over anybody else's. So if somebody says my buddy painted it, it's getting stripped.
Yeah.
Every time. I strip anything that's been painted before.
Yeah.
I will not, because then I can't warranty it. If I take it to the metal and I start fresh, I trust all the materials and I trust the process.
In that process, is there a point, and this is me asking, I rush my painting processes.
Right.
So, because
Sure.
it's usually it's not art that I'm doing. It's just some type of I want it to
I understand.
whatever. Is there in the process something happens along the way that you're like, where you have to go back to the beginning?
Okay, I'll give you a story, even on the Elvis
I'll
bike.
give you a story.
So, the last bike I did was a blue candied restoration of a Kawasaki from the 70s. And I shot all the bodywork, primer, all that was done. It was in the booth, ready for the last day of paint application. I put my silver on. I put my 3 coats of blue candy. Beautiful. It was like this. It was a vibrant blue candy. And the decals didn't come in yet. I don't normally do decals, but when it's a 70s bike, they want decals.
Right.
So the decals weren't there. I waited overnight before I was going to put the decal and then clear coat. Came back the next morning, the blue candy had split. Never seen that before. So essentially, it should not have set out and breathed that long. It needed more material to re-wet it and then dry over as one. So I learned real quick I had to strip all of that off because when it cracks, it goes to the bottom substrate.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had to strip all of that off and start fresh on that bike. So on the Elvis bike, I knew I did the silver, did the red candy, and then I clear coated it, gave it 2 days, sanded it down, and then applied my red candies, all of my gold leafing, my silver leaf, and then re-clear coated on top of that. There is a window. You know, most people are like, oh, you can't base coat it one day and then clear it 4 days later.
Mm-hmm.
I try to finish the whole process in 1 day, and then if I need to sand it, come back and do another process, it's essentially layered.
Yeah.
But you're not going to pack it all in with graphics and all this kind of stuff in 1 day. It doesn't give enough time for the solvents to come out, and you'll end up trapping it, and it'll bust up later on. There's a lot of tech stuff
There's
to it.
a lot of trial and error.
A lot of chemical, a lot of chemistry going on. You know, even the mixing, you know, some clears mix 4 parts clear, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer.
Man.
But I have a base coat that's 8 parts color, 1 part hardener, 2 part reducer. So there's all kinds of things that can be mixed wrong, and it has to be mixed in a cup. I don't have a scale, but either you can scale it or put it in a cup, and it has to be the right mix ratio, or your material's not going to do what it's supposed to do.
So the materials do you have your I like using
Certain
Sherwin
brands.
Williams.
Okay.
Who's your go-to brands?
On clear coat, I really like Tamco. Clear Coat, it's an independent company. I like them. If they've sponsored me, I'd like them a lot more. But I still
Were
have
you
to
at
pay.
Tamco?
Yeah, I have to pay. Come on, I have to pay full price. But as far I like House of Color candies, you know, and different inner coats. I like Southern Poly. Barry, you can help me out. So I use a lot of Southern Poly clear also, but it really depends on the budget of the customer. There's clears that are $300 for a gallon, and there's clears that are $800 for a gallon. You know, so people are like, "Can you do this helmet for 150 bucks?" I'm like, "It'll cost me $250 to do it."
Yeah.
How am I going to do it for, you know? So prices have gone up, you know, like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But an average cost, because that might be one of your questions, an average cost, if somebody were to bring me a Sportster or a Triumph, you know, like a Scrambler, something with 2 or 3 panels, it's going to start in the $2,500 range for a color change, and then goes up from there. If you have a full bagger that's...
What about a BMW Scrambler?
It depends on who the person is. I hook them up. Yeah, for damage, yeah. I heard about, you know, for theft control, I can help them out. But for, you know, for a full bagger, it can easily go up to $10K. If somebody wants graphics and there's, you know, 30 panels on a gold wing, I've done those custom all over, you know, and that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really, I try to work with the customer and say, okay, where's your budget? And here's normally what I can give you within that budget, and just see where they want to fall and what's, you know, makes both of us comfortable. And, you know, it's got to be something that I'm really going to like.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to post. There's very few things I do not want to post, but it was their idea.
Mm-hmm.
I did a skull for a dude. He wanted this ugly skull with these, hopefully he never sees or hears this, but he wanted this ugly.
Nobody's seeing this.
I told him straight up though, I said, I'm not going to post that. He goes, well, I really like this image. He found it online. And I said, I don't copy, but I needed, whatever. I was like, I'll do it. It's work.
Yeah.
And I copied the design and was not happy. Never posted it. Don't know what happened to the bike.
He's still riding down the highway, just happy as hell now.
I told him, don't tell people who did it. Isn't that awful?
Oh, no.
Yes, it's awful. That's very rare, but I mean, very rare. That's the only one I can even think of over all these years.
Yeah.
For the most part, I like what I do when people give me a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
And also, that's, as an artist, of course, it makes it easier for me. I've had people giving me drawings and say, you got to restore this Kawasaki, and it's got I'm not kidding, a 5.5 millimeter stripe. Okay, well, that comes up to right at a 1/4 inch stripe. 1/4 inch is like 6 millimeter. So I was like, are you really going to measure 0.5 millimeters? So I used 1/4 inch, and of course they loved it, but they were specific in the beginning. Like, I want this, this, and that. And I'm like, man, when the bike was built in Japan, it was hand striped. So it probably had a 2 millimeter, and then it had a, you know, 0.5 millimeter. There's, you know, so I don't like when people try to keep me to a schematic. I feel like it takes me twice as long to achieve it.
JDaar doesn't like being in a box.
I don't like being in a box.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like any artist, as long as I have a little bit of leeway, you know, the job goes quicker, smoother, and everybody's happier.
Yeah. So where can people find your incredible work?
JDaarCustoms.com
Yeah.
or Instagram. Just look up J Daar Customs.
That's DAAR.
Yes, sir, DAAR. And or you can type in custom paint Atlanta. Thankfully Google's.
Are you got a brick and mortar, like I could walk off the street into your
Yes,
shop?
but I don't have a storefront.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So no, I don't have a storefront. I've got 5 acres, kind of in the country. A really
Call
neat-
first, people. Don't just show up.
Yeah, do not just show up unless you like dogs and guns, because they
Hey.
both will be coming after you. No, but it's great. I mean, that's the cool thing about what I do. Also, is a lot of the stuff I do for dealerships, they'll tear the stuff down. I just go pick it up, paint it, they put it back together, and then I meet the customer afterwards. So I'm a one-man deal, so I do it from the ground up. I don't do any mechanical, no electrical. Just focus on what I'm good at. And customers will tear their bikes apart, or I have a handful of people that'll tear them apart for me, and then the customer does one drop off, one pickup.
Right.
It's not like they have to shuffle the parts. I handle everything. You bring me the bike, you give me a few ideas of what you like, and then we meet up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how it works, And I always get a little bit of approval ahead of time as to, I'll show you a couple little sketches, but nothing, they're just renditions, and that's it.
Yeah.
You got to trust the process and trust the artist, and thankfully most people do. It's really exciting that people will trust me. I have people buy $20,000 brand new Harley, never even ride it. They'll have it tore down at the dealership, and they won't even see the bike till I'm done. It's built.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's done. They love it, and that's
Well,
my
it's
dream.
It's a
job.
testament to your work. You've been invited
Yeah.
here by our friends here at
Yes,
Triumph
sir.
to the
Yes, sir.
Isle of Triumph here at Barber. So clearly you're carrying your own weight, and
Trying.
I'm stoked to have been your neighbor and
Yeah,
met you. You've been
absolutely. I
very
appreciate it.
amicable as I set
Thank
up
you.
this monstrosity.
This is a beautiful setup.
Thank you. Nothing's painted in here yet, but I did stain a lot of things.
Okay, there we go. That's
I burned the
kind of a
wood.
There you go. I have done that too. I've used a torch on
Yeah.
graphics.
But you're one of our first installments,
Yay!
and hope to have you back in Atlanta. You can come to our actual studio.
Yeah, I'd love to.
That'd be great.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time,
Hey,
brother.
well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Awesome. Yay! Thank you.